So what's going on, Senor Alejandro? We are here. What is this, episode number 10 now? Is it?
Yeah.
Let's double check. I mean, we have to look at this thing. Yeah, we just did 9.
Number 10.
We finally need to do number 10, so that's perfect. You got a fancy little set of toys here.
It is so cool. So the stuff that I've been talking about for the past 2 months has finally come to fruition. I've brought a complete setup of the Teacher Tech Toolkit that we're going to roll out at Aspira of Illinois schools. We have 4 schools, 3 high schools and a middle school. That's Antonia Pantojas High School, that's Mirta Ramirez Computer Science High School, and that's Aspira Early College. Our middle school is Hogan Middle School, and they'll be receiving the same exact toolkit with the exception of they'll be getting iPad 2s instead of MacBook Airs. So I'm really excited because it's, I think, one way to start engaging both not only the students but the teachers, because I don't like when people say if it's technology should make it easier, because there's definitely a learning curve when you're trying to do things, new things, a different way. And in this case, we're talking about layering technology, and this is the challenge to the teachers, into their curriculum as opposed to some side add-on. Anyone can record a podcast of their class, but how do you use the tools here as part of the curriculum? And so at some point it will involve, hopefully, a rewriting of the curriculum, or at least of the lesson plans, because again, they all have to be they all have to be mapped to Illinois state standards. And so part of it is, in the end, what are they going to do? How far can we take this? And how can we push Aspira schools, Aspira teachers, Aspira staff, and students, and parents, right, to take advantage of these tools? Because this is what you and I have talked about. Yeah. Right? Our parents are still way too much into getting kids Xbox 360s for Christmas, or the latest gym shoes, whatever the kids want. They need to get them technology. And we need to help them figure out how to work it.
So it's actually kind of funny that you bring it up. So it was my little sister's birthday just recently, and my mom and I went halvesies on an iPad. And she loves it. She's just turned 14, but she has Down syndrome. And in terms of the types of applications that she's able to use, and in terms of anything from learning the spelling, ABCs, those kinds of things, like reading Dr. Seuss books, those kinds of, like, it was just amazing to see her. Even though she's used my iPad before, mostly for Netflix, and it was one of the first things one of the first things that she wanted on there. It right away picked it up, used it. So now we have to go through and find some really good apps, start subscribing her to podcasts. Sesame Street has a really great podcast that we started watching as well too. So the content is finally starting to be there, and more than anything for kids, for specific age ranges, for specific abilities. So it's really exciting to see it in practice, and to know that, one of the things that she always loved is like taking my mom's iPhone away from her and like start messing around with it. So we hooked up the iPad, and all of a sudden hooked up FaceTime to it. So she'll start, because it's on the Wi-Fi. It'll just pick up to my cell phone, and she's just calling me all the time now and wanting to do the FaceTime. Same thing. So it's hilarious the way that she just picked it up, loves it. Easy bake oven, baking, fictitious cupcakes, and
no, but it's
it's pretty crazy
too. It's so cool because it's like, I can think of 3 examples right away, just riffing off of what you're saying. We bought, my nephew Matt, who's been on the show before, right, and I and his older brother bought my sister, their mother, an iPad 2. And my sister's 2 years older than me, so that makes her 26. Right? But having said that, she has no connection to any tablet, Android, or iPad before. She loves it. And part of it is, yes, there's the convenience of Netflix, but the other part is she's getting docs to go. She's learning how to print off of it. She's trying to use it as a work tool, and that's amazing. Right?
No, totally. And I don't know if you got a chance to keep up with some of the stuff that was going on with CES the past 2 weeks.
No, I've seen it, but I haven't.
So I mean, that's pretty much what I did all weekend, is just start watching the TWIT coverage, the Revision 3 coverage, and those kinds of things. And one of the bigger kind of tones of the show was, there was this whole TV situation, but then all of a sudden the amount of accessories and connection kits and those kinds of things that came out for the iPad and the iPhone specifically, the iDevices, Believe it or not, one of the biggest things at the show was actually headphones, right? Different kinds of headphones, because all of a sudden we have these devices on us, so we want to listen to quality audio. But the other was the DJ style applications and hardware to connect up the iPads, the iRigs to have MIDI inputs into them, regular guitar inputs into the iPad, and actually using GarageBand.
I just saw that demo with the guitar.
As full on. So you're recording directly onto that thing, and that, microphones that connect directly to it as well, because there's high quality interfaces that go directly digital. So that kind of thing was really exciting. So let's start.
I think it's important. I mean, the last thing about the iPad was, the childcare that I sit on the board of directors for, the Puerto Rican Culture Center's childcare. We're on the verge, I'd say in the next month or two, of buying 6 iPads, right? And they have these amazing, they're kind of pricey, $150, but they're all rubber grips, right? And for the iPads. And like you said, the applications are finally starting to come out. I think there's still a dearth of bilingual apps for that 2 to 5 age. On the other hand, this is, and I've said it, and this is why we got it for the middle school, it's the kinetic experience, right, of being able to touch screen that in some ways I completely believe that will push netbooks and notebooks out of the way in the next 5 years, on the educational scene at least, right? But so let's get to it.
And actually, you remember the Exo PC?
Yes.
It's now an Exo tablet. An 8-inch Android, rubbery, perfect case, really beautiful, really well done. So
I got 2 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, not the tablets, the
the PCs one.
Yes,
so now they realize that, hey, okay, they can still have the x86 and that kind of laptop form factor, but they're really pushing for a $100 tablet.
Wow.
Which is actually surprisingly close considering a Kindle's $200.
Sure. Well, but the Exo PC was $100 too, right?
Well, that's what they were hoping. I mean, how much yours is like so
150. No, you're right. It was 200 because I paid.
Yeah.
In the U.S., you had to buy 2. You got one and you gifted one overseas.
Sure.
And I got 2, but you're right. What I liked about it was just opening it up. It's great.
All right. Well, let's start going through it. Let's talk
about
the
backpack. All right. So here we are. I don't know why everybody in the world doesn't use one of these. It's a Brent Haven backpack, and I've been using them for the last 20 years. Virtually indestructible, right? BrentHaven.com. This is called the Expandable. And it has so many pockets and linings, all quality work, very thick, right? We're never not going to use half of them. But encased in these, and this is what you and I started talking about 3 months ago, is how do we put together a kit that we can drop into a classroom that is a complete, as much as possible, recording studio, right? But then we added some stuff, which I think you'll really like, because it's a challenge. So first things first, out comes the MacBook Air. Right? I must admit, this was Abram's idea, right? It's the 11-inch. When I first came up with the idea, I had thought iPad 2s all the way around. And
I'm seeing right away, you've got serial numbers on them.
Yes.
Got all these fully registered.
Inventoried.
Great.
Yes. Right, they're running Lion 10.7.2. We've had to make, I think, 1 or 2 app purchases and 1 download for the GIS that you'll see in a minute, that we had to download Basecamp from Garmin, as well as Map Maker and Map Converter for the Mac. Otherwise, they give you a CD when you buy them. On the other hand, this is it. This is what we want to be able to take it into the field, to go on around the school, right? This is where you can edit on the fly. Totally. This is everything we want, right?
Yeah, and it already has GarageBand, iMovie, everything, all the basic tools you need, so that's great.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Next, for your little in-classroom podcast experience.
There we go. I keep seeing these, and it's the Yeti Blue microphone. I keep seeing them, but it's surprisingly, I haven't seen one in person. It's larger.
Surprisingly big.
Yeah. Well, I have a Snowball, but in terms of actual weight,
I have a Snowball too, but you're right. This is big and bulky.
That's crazy.
This is something that you would use on somebody if you don't like them.
But it's high quality. It's nice because it has its own gain. The other one, the Snowball doesn't have that. Has the multiple different pattern settings so that you can say whether it's a dynamic.
Directional, yes.
Yep. So that's beautiful. You can have 2 different people talking like that, conversation-wise. You have the point. And then the volume, it does have a microphone out. So it's also one of the other interesting things about it is that you have automatic monitoring directly into here. That's something a lot of mics don't provide. And of course, USB back out. really nice and stable stand. That's pretty cool.
Right, and it's
really,
USB
really cool.
bus powered.
Very, very cool.
So it's great. Okay, here's one of your favorite tech toys.
Oh yeah, this is what we're recording off right now, right off of these lavaliers, and it's the Zoom H4n. So I guess what's interesting, and we kind of need to figure this one out, is how do we convert from a USB directly into here too? Because I guess that's also, I know that it has a USB.
It has I've got a.
But I don't think it's an in. Okay.
Right, but yeah, we'd have to figure that out, and the other without using the computer as a converter.
Well, yeah.
There's a way station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the bigger. I mean, and there's different connection kits because if you have the USB out, there's probably different ways that we can try to figure that out to plug in directly into here as well, because that's also an option, right? To not have the computer.
Yep.
But these are, I mean, what the beauty of it is these are really great microphones that you know, supposedly highly patented, that X
Yes.
directional to them. So that's really cool.
Well, I'm amazed because some of the teachers are very tech savvy at Aspida, and they were very impressed when I gave them the Xerox spec sheet for each of the pieces of equipment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said, wow, this is really high-end equipment.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what did you think we were going to give the kids?
Well, that's really the biggest thing, is this is what, you know, a lot of even like small film, you know, everybody that pretty much records with a DSLR is using this for high quality output because of the multiple channels, and everything getting separated out. So that's huge.
And so, apart from the connectors, here is our little next little gizmo.
The little Garmin, it's GPS. How's the battery life on these things?
Battery life is anywhere from 8 to 10 hours.
Okay.
2 AA batteries. Depends, right?
Yeah, well, if anything, you just carry more AA batteries.
It's a color screen, and it runs off a micro SD chip.
So it has a little USB connector.
Yes. And the micro SD chip is behind the 2 batteries, which all you do is twist this to open the case.
Let's see.
Very, very easy.
Oh, okay. It seems like it's definitely meant to be rugged because you have that
it's
feel to
rubberized
it.
body.
Yeah.
Take out one of the batteries, and you'll see the chip in the case behind it.
Yeah, there we go.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's very, very cool, and there's a lot to do with it. But to me, this was one of the other things that we layered on top, is how do we start to, and this relates directly to the use of math, right, in the real world.
Oh, yeah.
How do you start talking about GPS and GIS in general, but how do math teachers take that into the real world and say, yes. I mean, you can draw your own maps. You can, with a little training, you can build your own Google map, right? About the community. You can do community tours, right? So it's very, very cool. There's a world of potential there.
Yeah. So this is simply just logging your current location. It attaches to the backpack.
Correct.
Very cool.
You can, I mean, you have maps available, so it'll take your maps, it'll, map your location. Here's a nice little, this is Matt McKenna's contribution. He swears by this little
monopod.
Little
Beautiful.
monopod.
No, totally. I've got a Manfrotto one, and it's definitely. I was surprised at how versatile it is, more than anything for video shots. I remember, I forget where I was, and I was just literally there because you can take the camera, and then of course you can connect a light source to it, right? And all of a sudden, like, who's 10 feet tall and be able to get this kind of shot off of the system. That's really the other thing that really amazed me about it when you start using a monopod. So it's really great, and of course it's super sturdy whenever you're able to do that. So that's awesome. Beautiful.
No, I love it. And this one actually we got, I think it runs for, I don't know how much it runs for regularly, but we got it for like $11.
There you go.
In bulk, like we got the 9 that we needed.
Yeah.
So
nice and sturdy. It's got the.
Everything else was hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, this is the cheapest little.
This was the steal. Okay. Okay.
And also good protection in case someone tries to take your backpack.
Or you don't like someone, right? One or the other. Okay, I was showing this to Ceci a little bit, and she liked it. I like it. It's what do we want the kids to use without having to shell out money for a DSLR, and all the possible, well, not the advantages, but the disadvantages, right? So this is a little Canon
PowerShot SX40 HS. A lot of fancy things, but the nice thing is that this is actually a feature that comes in most, DSLR cameras. People just shoot yourself. So that's really important when you're looking at it.
Right.
That's really cool. The
For your
zoom.
MySpace shots, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a 4.3 to 150. That's a very versatile lens as well. Goes all the way down to 2.7, so that's surprising. Really cool. I don't usually go for these kind of point and shoots, and rarely do I actually upgrade my cameras. I'm one of those people that just like I pick something and I stick to it for quite a long time when it comes to some of those stuff. But it's nice to see that there's some great amount of range, and of course the image stabilization, really, really cool. No, it's awesome. No, and you kind of miss that kind of like low profile shooting, and of course there's a flash.
And you want something that does double duty without having two separate. Sure. I mean, you and I had this discussion, and part of it was how do we, without getting a separate point and click, right, and then a flip or whatever we're using now, right, a Kodak, combine the two. Cool.
No, and the on-screen displays even through here, so it's also a digital pass-through. It's not like it's it's a mirror. It's a mirror base, so it's nice that you see all your on-screen display options when you're still there.
Right.
Very cool.
What else do we got?
So how many megapixels is this guy?
I want to say it's 10. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 10.
And it does full 1080p HD.
It does full 1080 HD.
Very cool.
Right.
What in terms of so there's digital AV input and output, but that's okay. But we don't have directly microphone input because that's what we still have this little guy for. So you can still synchronize that stuff up.
Right. I did agonize over that for a while before I made the purchase, but then I figured, you know what? We need a high-end audio recorder anyway. So let's do that.
Very cool.
Okay, and here are my Walmart specials.
Perfect.
Right.
Nice little JVCs.
Yeah, little JVCs, and you're going to be able to plug them in and go through it, little volume control.
Action control.
And I think apart from all the connection.
No, super comfortable over the ear. That's really all you need. It's beautiful. Very cool.
So that is our Teacher Tech Toolkit. Apart from all the connectors and USB cables and
let's bust those out too.
Here we go.
Yeah. Do you have? So there's So this is for the Zoom. It's got a nice little windscreen. Of course, it's got your power adapter, which is really nice because it runs off of AA batteries, like this one does. But it's cool that when you have those longer concert recordings or those kinds of things,
that's all right. You can do it. And here, your battery charger for your Canon, right? USB. These are just your chip cases. One of the things that each teacher will have to do is we'll have to simulate a project. These are just the instruction manuals, right? So I've sort of consolidated them, but we'll have to do a demo project with us in this 2-hour training before they actually roll it out to the students, because I want each teacher at least to have a beginning knowledge of what each piece is, the jigsaw part that it plays and overall, and then they have to apply that to a project they're doing, right? But if they don't know how to use anything, the last thing I want them to do is give it to a kid with a sense of adventure and say, here, learn how to use it, you teach me. Yeah. That's not going to work.
No, totally. No, that's definitely the other bigger thing is like what kind of, now all of a sudden you can do anything, but you really need to come up with the kind of content that you're interested in doing. Were there other microphones recording involved? I know that you were talking about the wireless ones or those kinds of things.
Yeah, actually, did I put it in this kit? Oh, I got an Ars Technica.
That's probably one of the other ones, yeah.
No.
Ta-da. Oh, there we go.
I just repackaged it because it's in a box.
Sure.
Yeah, these are just USB cables galore, but that's...
So this is the Audio Technica. Just another one similar to what we're got. So
correct. Here's a little stand for the Zoom.
No, so this is perfect.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I mean, you're able to record. You're able, record both video. You've got the audio as well. But if you have someone actually having just the audio directly into them and hook them up directly,
which is much better.
Yeah, of course. Really, really cool. So what kind of other projects and stuff like that were you thinking would eventually start out into the school?
Well, there's two things. The idea is not only does this add a layer of tech education in general across the different disciplines or subjects, but that teachers and students, as classes or as teams, they start to produce content, right? Rich, what we call rich media content, video or audio, podcasts, for the school website, which we're in the process of redesigning, not coincidentally. The idea is how do the students or how does the school find its own voice, right? In terms of what they're doing, in terms of their victories, in terms of the work with parents. I think it's an amazing, this opens up tons of possibilities.
Totally. No, this is really, really cool. Kind of looking into one of these cameras because you have the full This is the interesting thing about it, right? Is that it has a full HDMI out, so you can stream this.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is, well, maybe not in the near future, but because you've got Thunderbolt directly into here.
Right.
Blackmagic has one out in the market right now. They're still around $200-300, I think. But it's an HDMI capture card.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
That runs through Thunderbolt. That's one of the things out of CES. Actually, no, Blackmagic's had it for a little while, but there was finally a little bit of more rumblings around Thunderbolt more than anything, which is why I think this MacBook Air they're okay with removing the SSD drive or the disk drive because of that Thunderbolt connection. You're able to hook up pretty much anything. You don't have I/O limiting you.
Well, in your imagination, because last time we were on the show, the only vendor I remember having a Thunderbolt device was LaCie, right?
Yes. So there's that one. But because of, the Seagate just came out. You know how like Seagate has those GoFlex hard drives that you plug in and out, which used to have, obviously the USB. They made an adapter that was just a FireWire. Now they made one that's also the Thunderbolt adapter.
Wow.
And it has pass-through. So now that same hard drive, you plug it in,
and it goes daisy chain.
And of course, you can daisy chain into your monitor or whatever other kind of device. But of course, those Blackmagic capture cards, I can't wait till those things come down in price a little bit more. Right now, as kind of like a little toy, it's an SD one that's based off of USB, so that actually goes into USB, but it only sends an SD signal capture into it, which is stuff like VCR recording, old DVD tapes recording. That's what it's designed to do. But you can surprisingly pick up that signal and actually send that out to a live stream service. So that's also one of the things that, when the technology is available finally, you still have the right kind of hardware between here and HDMI, the Thunderbolt, that you can just set this up on a nice little tripod and actually stream out live as well too.
No, and that's important only because those are some of the software services or online services that we want to be able to take advantage of. Say parents' assembly nights, parents' tech gatherings, like they'll have meetings, right? We want to be able to foster parent engagement by having parent tech nights where we help them sign up for emails, right? And then they can check on their parents, on their students' grades on a weekly basis, right? How many absences. So watch out, you crazy kids, you stop cutting school.
Yeah, no, totally. No, that's huge. And even just thinking about this little setup that we've got two different lavalier microphones, so that might be a really nice addition more than anything for this guy, right? Because these 20, 21? 20,
20, something like that, 27, I think. But
so that might be a nice little second edition because you do have the two inputs and you already have one, so you may as well grab some of the other ones. But all of a sudden you can have a full-on conversation. You're recording it with this as well. And of course this is to monitor that, but that in itself is a whole video show.
The idea is that some of the jigsaw parts here, right? All of a sudden you can have a 2 or 3 to 1 relationship instead of a 1 to 1. One person, with one microphone. You got it. It's a show.
Very, very cool. Well, this is exciting, man. It's nice to see it all fit in, and you've got it nice and compact, all figured out. Everything's all marked as well, so we definitely need to grab those things. So this is a battery.
Right.
And it's the compact as flash SD card. So you've got a 16 gig.
Yes.
For these,
2 gig.
Yeah, for these you really don't need a whole lot.
Right. 1 gig.
So all the GPS coordinates get stored onto that. Is it just I forget what's the name of the format? It's the GPS format.
Oh, you know what?
But yeah, that you import into that software that you guys have that it came with as well too.
Correct.
So that's very, very cool. Yeah, no, SD. I'm finally amazed that SD was the one thing that picked up. There's a bunch of other little formats that are out there.
I know, it's the other way around.
Oh,
I lost the bet, with myself, because back in the chip wars, I was thinking compact flash. Compact flash is it.
It's huge.
Compact flash is it, and nope.
It's SD?
It's SD.
Okay, so here's the flash. Very cool. You got all the different settings. Awesome. Very, very exciting. Well, this is great, man. You've got it. This is it. So this is 1 per classroom.
It's 2 per school at the beginning, right? And we have 4 schools, so that's 8. But we buy 2 new ones each year for the next 3 years. The idea, and so some of the equipment might change, obviously, mods change, and that's a good thing, right? However, I think the overall impact is the same. So the guidelines are obviously we don't want to split the equipment up once it's inside. So don't borrow a camera to go do something else. On the other hand, we want to encourage cross collaboration between classes, between a science and a math class, let's say, right? Or we want a math class to use it for a whole year between the 2 or 3 teachers that they have. We use a lot of project-based learning, so the idea is how do you wrap this stuff around projects as opposed to lectures, which won't work, right? I don't want people recording lectures. That's another discussion, right? Maybe down the next year and a half, we're thinking about the newest school that we're building, the Aspira Business and Finance School, giving away iPads like Stanford does, but recording every class as a podcast so they can listen to it. Right?
That's a bigger thing. Yeah, that's a whole other, recording lectures, recording stuff automatically, recording the screens, and then cutting back and forth between that. I mean, it's amazing, especially with Stanford. A lot of their business courses, a lot of their engineering courses are also, so one of the ones that they're really known for at this point is their Objective-C and iPhone development and iOS development. So you can actually download the entire 16 sessions of the Stanford class for iOS development. That's nuts. That's insane. For free.
I mean, they're doing that. MIT has OpenCourseWare, right? You can take all these classes for free. So there's a lot of stuff changing, and maybe we'll dedicate another podcast to it. But it's there. I think we want to get to the point where people who are in the know, like yourself, how do we do a show that tells people that are not necessarily in school, but want to learn, here's your opportunity.
Definitely.
Right?
No, this is huge. Well, this is awesome, man. I'm really excited. I can't wait. This little GPS thing, not that I go anywhere, but...
No, but it's totally, I mean, you
huge.
do it all the time. You just use your iPhone, right? You see where you
community.
go. Yeah.
No, it's great. Very cool. Beautiful, man. I appreciate it. And that's the show.
That's the show.